to YouTube. If you know my story, maybe you know that in the past I was a financial counselor for 6 years, and my customers were military members, service members, all branches. And I loved that job for 6 years, which is why I created this channel, and I want to say in late 2014. And I'm not a financial counselor anymore. My job is something completely different. For the Air Force as a civilian, which I love even more, I'm happy I'm not a financial counselor right now, because in the past I would see the same old story, usually negative, week after week. The only thing that changed was the face. But it was the same struggles, the same problems that people in general may have. My customers were military members, like I said. A few days ago, my friend at work came up to me and said, "Hey, I have a service member. We're going to call the service member Pat. You don't know if Pat is male or female. The only thing I'll say about Pat is an officer making great money in the military." And so my coworker said, "Pat is going to apply for an emergency loan, but I need you to help me out and create a budget for Pat. Can you assist?" And I said, "Of course." I said, "Do you know what my job was in the past?" I was a accredited financial counselor. He goes, "Yeah, I forgot about that, but thank you." So I met with Pat, and Pat and I created a budget. It took us maybe 12 minutes. It was quick. I went off the leave and earnings statement, which is your monthly statement. It has your income, and it also has your taxes, Social Security, SGLI, things like that. Some expenses. It also included some allotments. 12 minutes later, we were done with the budget. Pat has 3 car loans, one for $400, one for $600, one for $400, which is $1,400 every single month going out for car payments. One for Pat, one for Pat's spouse, and one for Pat's child. I didn't get into the details because my job was not to assist with the emergency loan. My job was to do a budget. I knew it was going to be quick, and I handed it over Pat to my coworker. My point with this video is credit is not our friend. Have I had credit cards in the past? Have I had car payments in the past? Yes. Do I have any car payments right now? No. Do I have a credit card right now? Yes. My wife and I have one joint account since 2000, 19 years ago. And my balance right now is $200. That's it, and I pay it off. I can pay it off right now, I can pay it off. I use it for convenience. Maybe it's a haircut, maybe it's gasoline, that's it. So I don't want to come across as an individual that says I don't have a credit card, but my wife and I have learned from our mistakes, similar to Pat in the past. And here's the other thing, is going back to these car payments. A lot of people earn great money and spend great money. More importantly, a lot of people earn poor money. In other words, poor in the sense that not a lot, not sufficient. So that's why they overextend themselves with credit. And that is the sad thing that I used to see when I was a financial counselor in the past. And nothing has changed, because there are people who are going to be doing the exact same thing with their finances. And that's not having a plan, spending, and then taking out personal loans, car loans, credit card loans, because they focus more on if they can afford that monthly payment. Could you imagine having 3 car payments every month, totaling $1,400? Then there's insurance per month. The number that Pat gave me was $450, so that's $1,850. And then there's gasoline that Pat said for those 3 cars is about $500 combined. That is $2,350, $2,350 per month for automobiles. The bottom line is, it's insanity. It happens. It's common. It's not an excuse to do it, at least for me. And when people are fine with doing things like that, it's not a problem. Unfortunately, a lot of people get used to living like that. I was embarrassed when I was 24 years old, my first year in the Air Force, E2, I had one stripe. I was embarrassed because I couldn't provide for my family other than an apartment that was 2 bedrooms, unfurnished, nothing inside. We bought a television for $35 used. It was an old television. It had no remote control, but that's how we started. And that, my point with that is I was uncomfortable. And that's what changed my world financially. How I do things financially, my actions, how I think financially. I didn't like being uncomfortable. I didn't like being embarrassed. I didn't like being broke. And I made changes at the age of 24. My wife and I have been married 23 years now. That's half of our lives. And I've had, in the past, we would have maybe a disagreement here or there. And she would provide some valid points. At the same time, she would provide some points that I didn't agree with, that we disagreed with. But we worked it out together. And we talked about this yesterday. The reason we can have a beautiful property the way that we do right now, 4.5 acres, and for it to be completely paid for with everything else, is because of the sacrifices that we made in the past. By having our previous home paid off in full, and then buying this one and financing 112, and then paying this house off in, I think it was 8 or 10 months, something like that. 8 months, I think it was, 8 or 10 months. My point is, don't get comfortable being broke, being embarrassed, living paycheck to paycheck, owing more than you earn, or every time you get paid, here's to paint a picture as I wrap up. Let's say you get paid on the 1st, you're broke by the 3rd of the month. Or you get paid on the 15th, and you're broke by the 18th of the month. Don't get comfortable with that. Make changes. It's worth it. It's so important that we, as individuals, take control of our personal finances. And again, I've been there myself. I speak from experience. Been there, done that with the negative. Been there, done that with the positive. I'd rather be on the positive side. Think about that. Ask questions. Make adjustments. Take care.